All right, so we might have a little dead air for a second, who knows? But anyway, Nolan, good morning again.
Hello.
Okay, second time's a charm. For everyone that doesn't know me, my name is Sonia Bush, and I'm a realtor here in Mammoth Lakes. My job is to help buyers and sellers fulfill their dream of owning or selling a second home here in paradise. And I do that with the help of a professional photographer, which I think is key. So today I have with me Nolan Nitschke. He is a landscape photographer and also does a real estate photography on the side. So I'm going to let him introduce himself. And why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself, Nolan, and your business?
Yeah. Hello, everyone out there in Sonia's Facebook world. My name's Nolan Nitschke. I own the Sierra Light Gallery in Mammoth Lakes. And I also do the majority of the real estate photos in Mammoth, Bishop, and the surrounding areas. I probably do about, I don't know, what would you say, Sonia? 3/4, 75% of them?
I don't know. You do all of mine.
Yeah. So, yeah, I started doing real estate photography a couple years ago. I've done close to 300 listing photos now.
That's a lot.
It's a lot, yeah. You guys keep me very busy. Yeah, I started doing that a couple years ago. I've had a camera in my hand for almost 16 years. I started photographing all of our beautiful mountains, lakes, rivers, creeks, waterfalls in our area. And a couple years ago, I got a request from a realtor friend of mine who had lost their photographer if I had any interest in doing real estate photos. And at first I kind of hemmed and hawed. I was like, I don't really know. She finally twisted my arm and was blown away by the photos I was able to produce. And I've been going nutso at it ever since.
Well, I'm so glad you have, because we probably had that same photographer, and when he left town, we were like, what do we do now? So tell me a little bit about the transition. So, well, let me back up. When I've been to your gallery or looked at your website, I see all these beautiful pictures of the Eastern Sierra, into Tahoe and Hawaii. So tell me a little bit about that part of your business before we go to the real estate.
Yeah, so I opened my gallery almost 3 years ago. It had been a dream of mine pretty much since I started getting serious with this. I actually had a couple of my photos in the Smithsonian. I've had 3 featured in the Smithsonian in Washington, D.C.
That's fantastic.
I've had my photography on every major news outlet, online and print. I've been an outdoor photographer and Yahoo News and MSN and Fox and pretty much everything you can imagine.
I had no idea you were a celebrity.
I don't know about that, but and not only for just recently, I've had some of my real estate work. I did all the drone work and the photography for the Cerro Gordo sale. Was that 2 years ago now?
Right.
Which was everywhere. So that was kind of cool. I've recently had some of my real estate work in some of the architectural magazines. Yeah, so it's been fun. Yeah.
That's good. So what's been what is landscape photography and real estate photography have in common, and what's different?
Yeah, so the jump kind of from landscape photography over into real estate was, it was actually pretty smooth. All of my work, for those that have been in the gallery or been on my website, have seen my work, you'll know I tend to photograph in the most challenging light conditions. You have these explosive sunsets or sunrises, stormy weather. You essentially, when I'm out in the field, I have no control over the light. And so I'm always having to figure out how to photograph that, how to process that, how to all make it look correct. And so going into starting real estate photography, it's very, very similar. Every house is completely different. And you have a lot of different challenges that go in with that. As you know, you can't really shoot real estate photos with your cell phone, for instance. It just doesn't work.
Right. We see people try.
The people definitely try, yeah, and it's kind of funny. Um, but it's extremely challenging. You need, some halfway decent equipment in the first place. You need to have the technical know-how, you need to have the compositional know-how, and you need to know how to handle those once you got those on the computer. So, a lot of the challenges in houses are, generally you're going in blind, you don't even know what you're getting into. One, like, do all the lights work in the house? All of a sudden, if you got a series of lights that aren't turning on, how are you going to adjust for that? How are you going to, photograph that? Light coming in through windows, where's the sun at what time of year and what angle? And, a lot of the times you don't have a choice, like in the winter, for instance, especially in Mammoth Lakes, our sun sets so far to the south that anything that's south facing along this house is going to get bombarded with sunlight coming in
Right.
at any time of the day, just from the position of the sun. And so having, and developing that technical know-how, how do you deal with that? How do you make the photo look good given those conditions? So there's a lot of the same challenges and a lot of the same techniques and processes that I've learned and incorporated, over my tenure as a landscape photographer that really melded well going into real estate.
Yeah, you wouldn't think there'd be so many things that are similar. I guess I never thought about the lighting. So one of the things, I've got some sellers that are probably watching today, and as they prepare their home to be photographed, I always tell them, the things that they should do. What are some of your tips for having the best possible photos?
So I think that, when you're selling a home, um, going through it many times myself, it's stressful. It's a big financial impact and it's a big impact on your life. And so, like, for me, I can always tell who is taking that very seriously and meaningfully. Meaning that, there's only so many things that me as a photographer, you as a realtor can do in someone's house. As far as decluttering, cleaning, making things look nice. We can offer suggestions and we can kind of tell them what to do, but it's still going to be the seller's responsibility to get that done. The way that I approach these houses, and I think that the most successful photographs are ones that where the potential buyer can see themselves in the home. They don't want to see the seller in the home. They want to be able to imagine themselves. And so if you have a lot of clutter, a lot of personal items, if you have a lot of political or religious items in the home, you're kind of not creating an environment for the buyer to be able to see themselves in there. They might not feel the same way as you on certain aspects. And so kind of creating that, a canvas for them instead of a finished piece is how I always try to approach doing these types of photographs.
I really like that analogy. I think I've told you before that, when I show a property and it's full of tons of pictures, I mentioned this on a video I did earlier this week. The people are looking, my buyers that come in with me, they're looking at those pictures. Oh, look how much younger she is and how many grandkids they have. Oh, where'd they go on their honeymoon? So they get so distracted. And I want them to think about, where should I put the couch? Where would I put the TV? What would this look for me? So that like goes into not just personal items, but getting rid of the stuff on the countertops. They not only look bigger, but also people can visualize their stuff on the countertops.
Yeah. And then, like a perfect example is, a lot of the higher end homes, they can have these beautiful countertops, this beautiful granite marble. They want to be able to see those countertops. They don't want to be able to see, all the family photos sitting on there, the cutting boards, the, silverware, the knife set. They don't want to be able to see that. They want to see this beautiful countertop because that's what they're looking at the home for.
Right.
Just an example. Same with floors. You might have these immaculate hardwood floors and then you have these weird fish rugs all over the place or something,
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. And also my big one is toilets have lids for a reason.
Yeah.
Put them down, people.
and to all the sellers out there, photographers don't like touching your toilet lids.
Right.
I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah, put them down. All right, so decluttering, kind of depersonalizing, those are big tips. And then the things that are out of our control are really the lighting, but trying to schedule a time when the lighting's the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, sometimes that doesn't always work just from scheduling, but that's where it's a big advantage to have, you know, someone at a certain technical level like myself, to where I can pretty much make anything work at this point. If I get thrown into something blind and we have to have the listing up today, this is the only time I can fit it in my schedule, I can always make it work.
Yeah,
And it is challenging.
Yeah, you're super quick. So that leads me kind of my next question. So, you know, we only have one chance to make a first impression. And I tell people all the time that I will wait. When I get a new listing, let's say I sign the listing today, I will tell them and also put it in the contract, because I don't know if you know this, but when we write a contract, we have, it has to be on the market within 24 hours of that date. So I write the date in the future. So if I'm sitting with a client today, I'll say, you know, 4/20, and then I have a window to put it in, because I have to schedule with you. And like I said, once I hit enter in the MLS, dozens of sites, it goes everywhere. And people look online, and people that have automated searches set up, they're going to see the pictures. And if you put it up with no pictures, it's not good. So tell me, when I schedule and then you go and do it, it's not just a matter of you pressing a button to send it to me, it's some work on the other end. So tell me about what happens after you take the photos.
So, and that's one of the things that I think is one of the least understood processes. A lot of times, you know, realtors, you know, you guys are on a contract, you're on a schedule. But so am I at the same time. I'm a very busy guy. And so when I get it scheduled, it takes it's a much longer process than I think anyone realizes, especially to do it at my level. And I have, you know, I have a pretty high quality bar set for myself. And so, you know, asking me to necessarily put out a subpar product is not going to go very well with me, because you know, I really care about the quality of the product that you guys are paying for, that I'm delivering for you. And so, so when we get something scheduled, you know, I go to the property. I'll try to do as much. I try to do as much research ahead of time. I'll look on Google Earth, see what the property is, see if there's any previous listings, see if there's any way that I can improve upon the photos, which there generally is. And so, you know, I'll go to the property. The more set up and ready the property is, the faster I can be. So if there's like a lot of clutter or stuff, I don't really like to move people's things. Generally, photographers don't like to. We're already getting very intimate into someone else's property, and you know, into things that they own. And so generally, we don't like moving things. We don't want to scratch a floor. We don't want to scratch a wall. You know, things of that nature. And so, you know, the more that it's prepared and ready for this, we can get in there, rock and roll, and do the best job that we can, without a lot of distraction, having to move this, having to move that.
Right.
You know, one of the big challenges, which I've learned, especially in Mammoth, is just finding how to turn on lights sometimes. There's some very strange light switches in Mammoth that you're like, what? How do you even work this thing?
Right, exactly.
But so, you know, the process typically takes anywhere between an hour to 2 hours. Sometimes longer if we're doing other things such as drone. If we're going to be doing the 3D walkthroughs, it can take longer. But once we're actually done at the house, you know, essentially I come back to my office or to the gallery, and it's, you know, half an hour, 45 minutes to download the photos. And then it's going to take another hour, sometimes 2 hours, to really make the photos sing, to make them look like the actual property, to get the detail in the images so they're not so dark, get the color balances out so you can actually see the real colors of the property. You know, I don't do any of the crazy filters or the crazy stuff that you'll see on some of these real estate listings. So the whole process takes numerous hours. And for me, I always like to let the images sit for a little bit. So when I get completely done, I'll go do something else for 15 minutes, half an hour. The human eye has a remarkable ability to adapt to what you're looking at. So for example, have you ever worn like the sunglasses that are gold or yellow tinted?
Yeah.
So you wear those for an hour or two, you're outside, right?
Uh-huh.
And as soon as you take those off, the whole world looks blue.
Right.
Everything has this blue cast. So that's the way that our eyes adjust to color. And it can do that with color and with brightnesses. And so when I get done with an images, I step away to kind of let my eyes reset. And then I go back through all the images again to make sure that my eye wasn't adjusting to something that at the time I wasn't seeing, but coming back in with fresh eyes, I can see them and make the appropriate adjustments for them.
Well, that makes sense because your photos, I mean, I think I've told you this before, but my clients, I've been into some properties that other photographers have taken the picture, and people will walk into the property and go, this doesn't look anything like it. It doesn't meet their expectation. Your photos bring out the best in the property, and it actually looks, I mean, I can tell you put that time into it because it actually looks like the property.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's something that I've developed. I kind of developed that, way of looking at and developing these photos from my landscape photography, because I really pride myself on making the photos look as natural as I absolutely possibly can. So, when I'm standing in front of the minarets, for instance, and there's, a crazy sunset going on, I really want my photographs to look exactly how I saw them. And so I spend a lot of time and take a lot of pride in the fact of making them look like reality. I'm not like like an Instagram photographer that just cranks everything and makes it look as vibrant and saturated and colorful as possible. I really want everything to be natural, because I feel like we live in at least in my experience in my travels, we live in one of the most beautiful places in the world. And if you're at the right place at the right time, you don't have to do all that crazy stuff. Right. Our area speaks for itself. And so I've kind of incorporated kind of that mentality into the real estate photography too, because you don't want to, you're not trying to trick your potential buyers. You don't want them to see something and be like, oh my God, look at this. And then they come into the house and they're disappointed. Right. You want them to be able to be excited about that potential that's there, and then keep that excitement when they're doing a home tour, or I guess now you guys have to do virtual tours. Right. But you want them, to maintain that. You don't want them to immediately come to the property and get disappointed because it doesn't look anything like the photos, for instance. Or,
right. Well, you do a really good job about that. And speaking of taking that to your nature photography, when I've been in your gallery, there are some pictures there. I just feel like I'm there. I mean, I feel like I'm actually there. I think it's beautiful. Speaking of your gallery, why don't you tell your gallery where it's located and the website if people want to check out your photos?
Yeah. So next time, when all of this coronavirus madness ends and people are able to come back to Mammoth again, it's the Sierra Light Gallery. It's next to the Liberty Bar at 3399 Main Street, in the Mammoth Luxury Outlets. And as soon as we get through all this madness, it'll be open back up. Until then, if you want to pop onto my website, it's www.thesierralight.com.
Yep. Don't forget the sierralight.com.
Yeah.
Great. Well, I appreciate that. So talking about incorporating other things into your real estate photography, you alluded a few minutes ago to drone and 3D tours. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So the drone, as far as I know, I'm one of the only actually licensed and insured commercially to be able to do this. Some people might not realize that you actually have to have a license. You have to go take a test and get a federal aviation license to be able to do this. It's what do they call it? An unmanned aircraft license. Right.
Whoops, sorry.
No problem. So you have to have a license to be able to do this commercially. So meaning if you're using it for anything besides your own personal usage, you have to be licensed and insured. So I went through that whole process. It's not easy. The test is very strange and kind of difficult. But I've been doing that for, I think, a little over a year now, maybe 2. And it's one of the aspects of the real estate photography that I really enjoy doing. It gives you such an interesting perspective that you can't get with anything else, really. So I really like that, just using Mammoth, for instance, you can get up above the tree line and you can show where a property is, say, in relation to Mammoth Mountain. And so I can take the drone up and pull it back a little bit. And while, if you're on the ground, you're kind of just surrounded in the trees and the forest, I can get up there and you can really see, oh, wow, we're really close to Mammoth Mountain. The ski runs are right there. Right. And so that's the only way you can really show that.
Well,
gives it kind of a sense of place.
Yeah, you did that for me. We haven't listed it yet, but that house on Hillside, it is right next door to the village. And if you just took a picture of the front of the place, you can't tell how close it is. It's literally next door. So I'm excited about that drone shot. I think I'm going to take that one and like draw an arrow. Say, here's the village, here's the house.
Yeah, like that. That property, the drone was the only way to show, like, oh, I can walk to the village in literally 3 minutes.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Tell me about the 3D options that you're offering.
Yes. Now. So just in probably within the last 6 months, I've been offering, it's called a Matterport. It's essentially what it is a 3D walkthrough. I'm sure you've seen them somewhere along the line somewhere. And so that's kind of an interesting new piece of technology. And so essentially what it is do I have it in here? No, I don't have it in my office. But what it does is it takes 3D photography at whatever point that I set it to in the house. And so by the time I'm done, you can do, they call it a virtual walkthrough or a 3D walkthrough. It simulates you walking through the home. And so you can turn around, you can look in a full 360 view throughout the whole thing. And I think, with the coronavirus and, all this shelter in place stuff, especially going forward, this is going to become much more poignant and relevant for people to be able to see a full property that might not feel comfortable going into a random house that they
I think you're right. There's some agents that have been using it for a while, and I really haven't. I go in and do a video myself, but it really doesn't show where the rooms are, et cetera. So I know you're gonna fit me in on a couple of my existing listings as soon as you can. But people actually feel like they're in the house there. And what a lot of people don't know is up here in Mammoth, it's primarily a second home market, vacation market. And I sell a lot of things with people not seeing the property. Mm-hmm. It makes me really, really nervous because that's a lot of responsibility for me. But I think I'll feel better if I know they've actually walked through the property on the 3D tour. So.
Well, and I think that just speaks to how awesome of a realtor you are, that they trust you.
Yeah, it's great. I lose sleep at night. I make them come up. I say, you have to come up during that inspection period because I can't have the weight of that on me. But anyway, so yeah, you've got a lot of different things. And if those people that want to check it out, I'm going to let him say his website one more time.
Yeah, so the website, it's the Sierra Light Gallery. It's www.thesierralight.com. And also the physical gallery at 3399 Main Street next to Liberty Bar and Grill. Once we can all travel and get out of our houses again a little bit, stop on by, come check it out.
Yeah, the gallery's fantastic. I mean, he has some things there. You use different mediums, like there's acrylic, there's metal.
Yeah. So I have a couple different mediums. They're blown up. Some of them are as big as a wall. I kind of, specialize in filling some of these huge walls for these luxury homes up in Mammoth. Really bring an entire room together with these things. I've got, just a lot of local, as we talked about before. I've been to Hawaii. I've been to Alaska to photograph the Northern Lights, Utah, Colorado, all over the place. The bulk of my work is definitely in the Eastern Sierras here. I live here. I grew up here. Most beautiful place in the world to me. So I get a lot of inspiration from here. But, and just as with, the real estate photography, I've taken everything that I've learned here and I've tried to apply it, you know, in Hawaii, shooting waves in Hawaii, shooting those crazy, beautiful sunsets in paradise, you know, and everywhere else that I can travel to. Death Valley, I spent a lot of time in Death Valley. Usually I would be there right about now, but the national park's closed. So
But
yeah,
you did just get back and do a big photo shoot in Hawaii right before all this craziness, right?
yeah. So I had a trip planned over to Hawaii to see some of my friends over there. Some of my closer friends over there own galleries on the Big Island, and so I try to go over there at least every year, maybe 2 years, to go spend a couple weeks and photograph with them, and just photograph something completely different than I'm used to. And yeah, I left at the beginning of March and got back. You know, we kind of knew about coronavirus, and it was, you know, kind of one of those things. Everyone was kind of paying attention to it. I was like, oh, I'll be gone for 2 weeks. You know, I'll be fine. And oh, that was wrong there. So
Yeah, yeah.
thankfully I got back right before everything got really, really crazy.
You
But it was,
did some wave photos and waves, or what did you do?
yeah. So the main point of this trip was to do wave photography, and so my friend CJ Kale is one of the best in the world, if not the best in the world. And so we put our cameras in these waterproof housings, and we actually go into the waves, into the barrel of the waves, and try to capture them, you know, breaking and curling over. And, you know, that involves getting tossed around a little bit. And it was a pretty steep learning curve for that one, with some physical toll involved.
I bet. So are any of those photos up on your website yet?
So I'm working on them actively. I've had a little bit of time to really make these things look good. I'm hoping maybe Monday, early next week, I'm gonna actually release this. So what I normally do is everyone that's on my newsletter, I send them out. They get to see it all first. If you guys would like to be on my newsletter, visit the gallery, or visit the website. And I send those out to all my collectors first, so they get first dibs, essentially. Nice. And then I release it to the public after that. So I'm thinking I'll have it released to the public on Monday.
Super. Well, I'm going to drop the link to your website in the comments when we're all done. I know you've got stuff to do today. I just want to thank you for your time, Nolan. I really appreciate your professionalism, the quality of your work, and I just want to say thank you.
No, thank you. It's a pleasure. It's nice to see you, and I can't wait till I can give you a hug again.
I know, it's so crazy. All right. Well, thank you so much. You have a terrific day, and I'll talk to you soon.
You too. Thanks, guys.
Okay.
Stay safe.
Bye.